What's up, Buffalo Bills fans? A beautiful Monday, a victory Monday. It's a gorgeous day here in North New Jersey. It was an even more gorgeous day in Western New York yesterday. Not so nice. Around 1:45 Eastern Standard, they're down 17-3 at the time, and you're thinking, oh man, and I had a lot of trepidation going into that game just from an opponent. You think you're going to catch them sleeping coming out west, an NFC team, an opener. And no, it was the reverse. And if you had watched Arizona last year, you saw they were very, very competitive throughout the year. They played hard. The games they won, and they won against Pittsburgh, playoff team in Pittsburgh. They beat Dallas at home. They should have won that Giants game. So they played very, very well. And a team that had started three quarterbacks, Toon, Murray, and Josh Dobbs, who they eventually traded, and they have a good nucleus of guys that are hard matchups. I mean, their defense doesn't have a lot of big names, whether it's, just you have Zaven Collins, Buda Baker, and a few other guys. They added a few guys on the defensive line, but they didn't have B.J. Ojolari. So they were up against it in a certain amount of ways, but so were the Bills. They're infusing a lot of new faces. Milano's injury, they suffered a tearing injury throughout the game. So it's kind of I don't say a stalemate when it came to that, but you saw that Arizona was the team that was ready to play early on, and throughout the game, they weren't again, they were no cakewalk, and they weren't a cakewalk last year. So a lot of people, I think, were thinking that this was going to be just a quick mop job, and no. And if you watch the league, and again, if you watch my videos long enough, please get out of the Bills box, go around the league. Listen to other teams' fan bases. Listen to their media. Listen to the tenor. Go listen to Cleveland radio today. Go listen to the fan today here in New York, the Giants. The Dolphins. Team Bills are playing on Thursday. They're down 14-0 at home too. And if Javon Holland doesn't punch a ball out on Etienne going into the end zone, they probably lose that game. And then Doug Peterson making some weird fourth down decisions. But let's get back to this game. Start before the game, the inactive list. You had about half the draft class inactive, half the draft class active. It was Tylen Grable becoming the swing tackle overnight. Everybody was the people that really follow the team were kind of shocked that Vandermark. Wow, he was the guy who went in for Deion Dawkins on that drive in Miami. But if there had been an injury yesterday, Grable was the guy in. Cole Bishop was down, and we've never seen Bean happier to draft a guy than Cole Bishop. Go watch that video if you don't know what I'm talking about. My God. Brian Granger was down. Smoot had a toe injury, I believe, in Friday's practice. That put him down. I know he wasn't part of the draft class. Olafoshio was down. So there was guys in, guys out. And Codrington, a guy that they traded for, really, really accounted for himself very, very well yesterday. The special teams was a mixed bag. You can't have a kickoff out of bounds to try to end a game and give a team the ball. I don't know what the deal was there, what the coaches were trying to accomplish. You can't have a kickoff return for a touchdown. But Codrington's return, Bass was excellent yesterday on a very windy day. Sam Martin, I think he had one punt. Their punter gave the Bills a short field, which gave them the field goal, which would have forced Arizona to go down. Unfortunately, it wasn't a touchdown, and there's that whole field goal of death debate that happened during and after the game, and I'll get into that. But you watching the game from the start, you go back to the start of the game, it just looked like the Bills were still, in preseason mode. And there's a lot of teams like that yesterday, like I had mentioned. And I'm not making excuses, but those teams never got out of preseason mode. They got beaten to the ground and stayed there. And whether it was the Browns, the Giants, the Bengals, the Jags blew that game. There was a lot of teams that just did not look ready to play yesterday. And it showed, where it was one team that was up for it, and the other team they were still sleepwalking. And the Bills were a little bit of that. Not so much on offense, but definitely on defense, where the offensive frustration came in was the penalties, self-inflicted wounds, Josh holding onto the ball a little too long there, driving the ball, strip sack. They moved the ball up and down the field all day long. Let's make that clear. The Bills only stopped themselves yesterday. Okay, the refs, There was a couple of penalties, give or take, but it was pretty even yesterday. But everybody thinks about the first drive of the game. The Jamarcus Ingram penalty is so egregious and such a blight on this league. And it's yinging and yanging of the contact rules. It was everything you want a defender to do in that situation, yet he still got a flag for it. The one on Josh that extended the drive and got them a first down, which eventually led to a touchdown before the half. You could say the hit in the head maybe, but roughing, if you call hit in the head, okay, I can see that. But the roughing there, there was the one that I felt like could have been a horse collar or the hip drop tackle, and I think Mac Wilson came in a little late. You could have called that, but getting into the game, it was rough sledding early on in terms of just stopping Arizona, and then it settles down. Bills drive down and score right before the half, and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, they're getting the ball coming out of half, and they pretty easily go down and score, and it's a tie game, and you're like, hey, this is a game they should win. They took Arizona's best punch. They've tied the game. They need to go on and win this game now. This is you're even, you're at home, you were down, let's go. And they did. They took Arizona's best punch. They took Arizona's best counter punch on the kickoff and weathered the storm, won the game, forced a turnover of their own that they went in and scored the go-ahead touchdown on, and they never relinquished a lead there. And what I can't get mad at that. I can find little things to nitpick at, but I can't get frustrated. The performances on offense, it was very much that mantra of everybody eats. I really enjoyed Joe Brady's willingness and wherewithal in doing this. And I paid close attention to Cleveland yesterday, and I paid close attention to the Giants yesterday. The reason obvious. Two former Bills play callers, one a head coach, one an OC. I don't know if Dorsey's calling the plays or not. I don't know if it's his offense, but still extremely pass happy even early on. And we're talking about Daniel Jones and Deshaun Watson removed almost 4 years from being good. And Allen, I think, it was an insane stat line. He had only attempted 2 passes when they got the ball to drive down before the half, and they eventually scored a touchdown. He had only thrown 2 passes at that point. That was insane because there was such a disparity in time of possession. But the willingness to just, if you look at Cook's stat line as a whole, it's not impressive. But the Bills running was not, but if you watch the game in the context of the game, it was very impressive. Just the continuous, stay balanced, stay down in distance, stay just methodical. It was very, very, very good. I was taking the ball out of Josh's hand so much, but there's no need to press things where they didn't need to be pressed. All the new receivers, a new center, new left guard. I felt as a whole the offense was you put up 34 points and could have had more. Had a touchdown taken off the board on a penalty. I think Osiris Torrance probably had his worst game in terms of getting called for penalties. The touchdown early on called back. They have to settle for a field goal. So there's 4 points right there that were on the board taken off, but they did get a field goal. So the Bills, again, they were pretty good on all things considering, pretty good offensively yesterday. For a stat line that doesn't look that great across the board, Allen was extremely efficient. He did miss MVS on the one, but overall he had that hitter to Knox. Khalil Shakir, tough catches, tough rack, impressive to watch. He's a process guy. Like if you could take a player and say, there's certain guys, Taron Johnson. Another guy I'm going to get to in a minute, Cam Lewis, process guy. Shakir, process guy. Like, to the core. And Keon Coleman making that big catch down the sideline. and you're hearing about it throughout, early on part of the day when the Bills are down. Oh, Diggs scores a touchdown. Diggs got to, you're hearing that. So those little echoes, and like again, another thing I say a lot, if you're watching up my videos, stay off X, stay with Twitter, stay off of it. It's gonna kill your viewing experience. But offensively, there was enough good things and enough encouraging things, and things I think you didn't see. You didn't see a lot of you didn't see a lot of Curtis Samuel. You saw little sprinkles of Coleman in there. He drew a couple of penalties yesterday, a couple of pass interference penalties that were big, and got the ball down the field. Aside from the catches, on defense, Rousseau. Woo! I mean, talk about a coming out party. And then Vaughn getting off. Just, he didn't have a stat line last year. No tackle, a couple of tackles, a tackle for loss, and the sack. Granted, Murray got caught in the money pocket, couldn't see, tried to break out and fell. Miller touches him down for the sack. Take it. Overall, I felt the defense settled in and started playing better, started tackling harder, and just being in their spots a little bit better. There was miscues on Arizona. They had some drops. They had, Murray scrambled out, broke out a few times where I felt like the Bills did play good defense, but it's kind of like when defenses play Josh. You love it when Josh is doing it to defenses, and then when it gets done to you, it's like, oh fuck. Now you know what other defenses are going through. But everything as a whole, I mean, the safety situation, Taryn goes down, which totally threw things out of whack in the secondary that was already in transition in the middle there. Hamlin and Rapp held up pretty well, I felt, tackling, playing defense. There wasn't a lot of Mike Edwards, was injured, didn't get a lot of practice time. Bishop, like I said, was inactive. So that thrust Jamarcus Ingram onto the field a lot more. And, he, all things considered, he did all right. I think he gave up one pass where he was supposed to be in a spot and he wasn't. He bailed when he should have stayed in the flat, and I think it led to like a big play to a back that extended a drive. But and getting called for that terrible penalty. But I didn't notice him as much as you think you might in a situation like that. The special teams again was hot and cold. Big kickoff return from Codrington. The Bass cannot be kicking the ball out of bounds there at all. Just put the ball through the back of the end zone, dude. And if you can't, just hang it high. Force them to do something with it. Force them to return it in the area, that little area that they have now. Something, just anything but what you did, handing the ball at the 40-yard line. But again, it's give and take, because Arizona's punter shanks one. It's like a 25-yard punt, and the Bills get a field goal out of it. But Bass, coming off at the end of last year, it couldn't have been a more low point to miss that kick the way he did. It was brutal miss, and he was shaky before that. I mean, even against Pittsburgh, he missed like a really short field goal. Yesterday, he was good. He was really, really good. He was hitting the ball well. You heard about it in the pregame, and it was windy out there. I mean, even on TV, you could hear the wind a little bit. You could see the gusts, the goalposts, the flags. So, yeah, it's 1-0. The Copes were ready. Oh, it's only week one. It's an NFC opponent. Doesn't hurt us that bad. So everybody had their Copes ready early on when it looked like things were grim. But they got punched and they took it, and they rebounded, and I was listening to One Bills Live earlier, and Eric Wood had said this to CB. And good teams, that's a game good teams win. Good teams do that. Good teams win, and he said it off air to him, and that's true, because in years past, decades past, that's a game they lose, and they lose going away. They get dog walked in a game like that, and you saw it a lot of teams yesterday. Some teams got dog walked yesterday, and those are teams that people expect to be good, or teams blew leads and couldn't recover. So That's it, Bills fans. Want to keep it short and sweet. Don't want to be too long-winded. Everybody's got things to do. I was watching my videos from the past. I got a little too long-winded there. I know I still do a lot of word salad and stuff, but people got things to do throughout the day, lives to live. They can't be sitting around watching me, even though I have a phone on you. Just listen. Some people want to sit and watch. Some people just listen. However, you spend your time with me. I appreciate it because I'm not special. I mean, I'm not that articulate. There's not a lot of production value here, as you know. Just me, and keep it short and sweet. Was simple and stupid. There you go. But anyway, short week. We're gonna get word on Taryn. Gonna get word on Josh. Hopefully, those things are as good as possible. Taryn, I'd probably say is going to be more than a few weeks. Josh, hopefully, he finished the game, went under center. Was in the locker room, was on the field after the game. Didn't seem to be a big rush to get him X-rayed right away. I mean, he did. So maybe, that's why he went to the podium first. Who knows? But still, no, Ashley Vaughn and Rousseau went to the podium first. But we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, everything's good with that. Knock on wood. Go Bills. Love you all. 1-0. Great way to start the year. And a short turnaround this week. So I'll be seeing you guys real soon. Love you all. Go Bills.